In this lesson, we're going to get me bones, so I'm not a mushy pile of goo on the ground. Ugh, gross. Enough talking already, let's do this!
Let's animate! Yay! In today's lesson, I'm going to show you a rig that I use 99% of the time for my characters. Not only is it easy to set up, you also don't need to use smartphones to fix it, and it's easy to adapt for different types of characters. And stick around for a quick tip to precisely copy bones from one limb to another. Alright, so now we're going to rig up Fred so we can animate him. The way to do that is, as you can see on our tool panel, we don't have any access to bones right now, and that's because you need a bone layer to use and animate with bones. So how we're going to make that happen is we're going to select all our layers, we're going to right click, group with selection, call it Fred, and now we're going to right click again and we're going to convert to bone. So now we have a bone layer, and you can see we get this little bone icon, and now we have access to our bone tools. And so we're going to be using the two types of bones in our rig today, and let's go over those real quick. They are the pin bone and just the regular bone. To get the pin bone, we're going to hit add bone, and just click on the screen, and you're going to get this little circle with a cross in the middle, and this is a pin bone. Next, we're going to make a new bone by dragging out, and you can hold shift to constrain it to 45-degree angles. Now, the difference between these two bones are basically just length and pivot points, because this can pivot around this edge point, whereas the pin bone doesn't have a pivot point. So I'm going to select all these, hit delete, and we're going to start rigging Fred. So the first thing we're going to start with is our root bone, and we're going to hit A, and we're going to start with from this little arrow, and we're going to hold shift and pull across. Next, we're going to make our hip bone, and because this is already selected red, and we want our hip bone parented to the root bone, we just have to drag down, holding shift. We're going to stop right at the edge there. Now, if I were to continue making another bone, because the hip bone is red, it's going to be parented to that, and we don't want that. And a really quick shortcut is to hold Alt with the Add Point Bone tool still selected, and now we're going to hold and press on the root bone, and that selects it red. So we know that the next bone we make is going to be parented to that. So let's draw a bone, and we're going to draw another bone for the head. Now, we know that this head bone is parented to this sternum bone because it's blue, and that's what we want. And that is an easy way to tell which bone is parented to another by selecting it and seeing what it's parented to. And as you can see, the root bone isn't parented to anything, which is what we want. But these bones are parenting to the bones below them. The other way you can tell is hitting P on your keyboard, and you're going to see these arrows. But be careful, because if you have a bone selected and you click off, this is no longer parented to the sternum bone, and we don't want that. So what we're going to do with our reparent bone still selected, we're just going to click on this again, and now it's parented to that bone again. The next thing we need to look at is strength. So let's hit B, click off, and we're going to select our root bone and hit S. And as you can see, it has this outline around it, and that's by default. All bones start with a bone strength of 1, and you can see that up here. You can either drag in this, or you can drag on the screen to take it down. Now our root bone, because it's not actually going to be bound to anything, we don't need it to have any strength at all. Our hip bone, we don't need that much strength, so we're going to take this down. The sternum doesn't really need any strength, but our head bone is going to need some strength. And the reason why we need our bones to have some strength is because we're going to be using flexi binding for the body. And in order to use flexi binding, your bones have to have strength. So we're going to see what that looks like now by opening up, clicking on the body, hitting B, and selecting the bones of the body. Not the root bone, just these 3 bones. And now we're going to go up to this little button right here, and we're going to hit link bones. And now they've got a darker red outline, so you know that they've been bound. Now if we go up to our bone layer and we click off frame 0 and hit Z or our manipulate bone tool, you'll see that everything does move the way it should for the most part. You can see that everything else is moving as well, and that's because they're not bound and these bones have strength. So they're going to affect any layer that's not bound. And that's normal. It's normal to look crappy before you're done. But don't worry, trust the process. Let's bind the rest of our face to our head bone. Let's click on the mouth folder because everything in the mouth we're going to want bound to this. And we're going to hit B, click on our head bone, link bones. For our nose to be connected, our eyebrows we're going to do separately. For our eyes, we don't want the pupils, just the eyeballs. So we're going to hit left eye, link bones, right eye, link bones, left link bones. Okay, next we're going to link the stomach. And because it's intersecting both these bones, what we're going to do is we're going to select both the sternum and the hip bone. I'm going to link those. Same with our spots. We're going to select both our spot layers by holding shift, and we're going to hit B, select both our head and sternum bones, and link bones. Great. The body and the face is linked how we want. Now we're going to do the pupils, and we're going to use pin bones for that. So let's click off, hit A, add a pin bone, click off, and add a pin bone. Now we can zoom in and press T, and you'll be able to move them into the center of your pupils. Now we're going to hit S, and we're going to take the strength for both of these down to 0 because they're going to be point bound, so we don't need to have any strength on them. So how we're going to do that is we're going to go to our right pupil. This bone is selected, and we're going to hit I, which is our bind points tool. And now this acts like your select points tool, and you can click the edge, select your points, go up to this button, bind your points. And you'll know they're bound because the points will change color, which is what you want. Now let's click on our other pupil, select this bone, hit I,